Good morning and welcome to Women Warriors Network live event. Powerful ways to control your leadership reputation. We are streaming live on several platforms and the event will be recorded for later viewing in case you miss it. Thank you to everyone who support Women Warriors, who have contributed to the many events over the past couple of years, globally as speakers and attendees as we continue to grow. I am Sandy Donnelly, CEO of the Gulf Palace Retreat, Saudi Arabia, founder of Women Warriors Network, and positive leadership coach, passionate about well-being and female empowerment. So what's it all about? Women Warriors Network was created in the midst of the pandemic when all of my health retreats were put on hold. I realized there were many women out there who are incredible women warriors and wanted to share their knowledge, wisdom, and connect with like-minded people. Men, yes, men, we love, need, and want men too. Men join and support these incredible women, which certainly makes them supermen. But Women Warriors Network is a platform to allow women to shine. Ordinary yet extraordinary women have spoke at the numerous events. The first event was in April 2 years ago. I expected 30 to 40 people to join, so I was absolutely thrilled when over 350 people signed up. The events continue to be a success with over 800 to 1,000 sign-ups on a monthly basis. I knew this was something special and a network I want to continue to grow globally. Today, we are joined by three very inspirational ladies, Heidi Mallace, Dr. Navana Kundu, and Deborah Dor, who will be talking about powerful ways to control your leadership reputation. Reputation management is the effort to influence what and how people think of a brand or individual. Reputation looks at your stakeholders, employees, customers, and you. So control the things you can control. And on that note, I would like to introduce Heidi Mallace, reputation and communications consultant and coach.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Sandy. And Sandy, as you've alluded to, I mean, there are many things in life we can't control, but our reputation, and this is the good news, is something that we can take more control over. And I think a little bit like you, I spent some time in the lead up to this event looking at what the definition of control and reputation is. So the dictionary definition of control is the power to influence or direct people's behavior or course of events. The definition of reputation is the beliefs or opinions that generally are held about someone or something. Now, your communications, what you say, how you say it, where you say it to, who you say it to, enable you to have more influence over people's behaviors and decisions and shape people's opinions about you. So I just want to take a moment to think about our communications. So I'm often asked, are good communicators born or made? And I then ask people to say who they think is a really good or great communicator. And there's one name that always comes up, and that's Barack Obama. Barack Obama's style, charisma, and exceptional use of the spoken word are what he has become known for all over the world. But if you look at some of his early speeches, or if you look at speeches of other leaders in organizations at the beginning of their careers, they weren't that great. And some of them still aren't that great today. And so great communicators, I believe, can be made, but it requires time and it doesn't happen overnight. And actually, as Barack Obama, not Boris Johnson, as I was about to say, Barack Obama references in his book, The Promised Land, he spent a significant amount of time honing these skills. He references that when he was leading up to, when it was the presidential campaign and he was preparing for the live TV debates, he had to spend about 3 or 4 days in a conference room in a hotel where someone was pressure testing every single answer of questions that he was potentially going to be asked. And because he knew that what he was saying and his messages would ensure that he received votes to become president of the next president of the United States. And what he also says in this book is that no matter what his message was, it would be the same. So, for example, if he was talking about having more equality in American society for Americans, the message would be the same, but how he delivered it would depend on his audience, who his audience was. So if it was a group of school children, he would adapt it for them, or if it was senators, he would adapt it. And knowing your audience is as important as your communication, because when it comes to managing your reputation, I believe that your reputation is one of your most valuable intangible assets. And I'm going to quote sort of fellow speaker, Dr. Navana, who referenced Warren Buffett in her post about this event, which is, it takes years to build a reputation and moments to lose. And if you thought about that, you'd do things differently. Now, while I'm going to make the assumption that the audience who are tuning into this aren't presidents or billionaires, we are all professionals and we are leaders. And we all have a reputation both on and offline within our networks, our peers, and our colleagues. So if you thought about that, maybe you would do things differently. So the way I think to start taking control of your reputation is to make time and invest time in it and really define your personal brand. And your personal brand is about your values, your ambitions, and how you want to be perceived by your business critical audiences. And I work with individuals, weekly and help them define their brand, because it can be quite difficult to do yourself. But there are a few things that you can do by asking yourself a few simple questions. So ask yourself, how would you describe your role and what you do? How do you think people internally and externally would describe you? And where would you like to be in 12 months? And once you've defined your personal brand and narrative, then and only then can you really start to take control of your reputation.
Thank you, Heidi. Very good insight. So how can people take more control of their reputation?
Well, I think that there are three ways that people can do this. So firstly is first impression. So according to a study by psychologists at Princeton University in the US, it takes 0.3 seconds to form a first impression. They found that people make judgments about the attractiveness, likability, trustworthiness, and competence of other people by looking at their faces for less than 1/10 of a second. Now, whether I like it or not, consciously or subconsciously, you've all made an opinion of me or formed an opinion of me. Do I like the look of her? What's that painting she's got in the background? Is this going to be a good use of my time? Is she going to say anything that is going to be relevant to me? Now, how we show up, and this is really all about showing up, is, especially in this virtual environment, is non-negotiable, in my opinion. Just because we're in our home offices or in our living room, as I am, and possibly suffering from Zoom fatigue, we need to make the effort. Because if we make an effort, it will really have a positive impact on our audiences. Secondly, assess your online reputation. So first impressions aren't only formed by what we see visually or what we hear, they're formed by Google search result. So what we see on the first, those first sort of search results on Google could be negative, they could be positive about you or your company. They could show your social media profiles from Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. So what I would like to ask you is, when was the last time you Googled yourself or your company? What were the results? When was the last time you reviewed your LinkedIn profile, your professional shop window to the world? Is the image up to date? Is it representing you and how you want to be represented? And has it got your current position at your current employer? And then when was the last time you recorded yourself on a video call and watched it back to see how effective your communications are? And that's both verbal and non-verbal. And it's believed that the non-verbal communication represents almost 70% of all of our communications. So if this is something you're not doing regularly, by Googling yourself or your company or reviewing your social media profiles, then it's something I recommend doing on a regular basis. I think this is also reiterated, or I want to reiterate how you can control this after you have done the reviews. And that's because I work with a specialist online reputation firm called Digitalis. And we talk about digital assets. And now digital assets are our social media profiles like Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook. And the reason that we call them, actually, I meant to say as well, your company website. And the reason that we call them assets is because we are in control of the content which we publish on those assets. LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter doesn't generate tweets itself. You are the person who populates them. So they can, if they're managed well, really help you shape your reputation, make your reputation. But if not managed wisely, they can break it as well. And then finally, plan and prepare. Don't wing it. People and companies with the most impressive reputations spend time and money because these things don't happen in a couple of days. You often require specialists who can give you sort of quite invaluable, both strategic and tactical advice to help you achieve your goals.
I think it's you're so accurate when you say it takes somebody to make an impression of you, like 0.3 seconds. And my next question was, which you've just covered most of it, was what can people do to help themselves? And as you said, it's everything update, your social media, your company profile, your have you looked at yourself recently? Have you seen the way you are portraying yourself, presenting yourself out to others? So I think those tips are very key to us helping ourselves to have that better reputation and to up ourselves on a Google search.
Yeah, and Sandy, I mean, I think that this is more relevant than ever before. And the reason that is because I started working in PR communications and reputation management when I was 18. And I worked for a company called Brunswick. So Brunswick are a global sort of strategic communications firm. And every morning there used to be a ring binder that would be in the cafeteria. And in that ring binder, there were photocopies of press cuttings from the newspapers about the companies that we were sort of representing, and they were mainly listed companies. And it would be what was in those newspaper articles that would impact their reputation, or it might be the interview that the CEO had given on radio or TV. And actually, sort of almost 25 years ago, it was really only high-profile individuals, so actors, actresses, musicians, etc., politicians or CEOs who had to think about their reputation because they were the only ones who were visible to us. I think fast forward almost 25 years, and this thing called the internet and social media really does shape, or it may break or shape your reputation of many individuals. Now, I'm no futurist, but I'm pretty convinced that the internet and social media is here to stay. So I really think we all should take our online reputation management a little bit more seriously, as you said. But also, we are the virtual call and virtual event generation. And this has really been accelerated by the pandemic. And just to put this into some context, Microsoft Teams users reached 270 million in 2022. And that compares from 44 million in November 2019. And whether we love or loathe video calls, they're here to stay. So I want to encourage you all to put a little bit more sort of Vava Zoom into every virtual call that you have, because what it demonstrates is that you're showing up, that you're engaged and you're listening, because there is a lot more to communications than just talking a lot or writing a lot. And I think, you know, as a final point, I want to go back to a Warren Buffett quote, which is, the one way to become worth 50% more than you are now, at least, is to hone your communication skills. And if you do that, not only will you be more valuable, but you will have more control over your reputation.
Very good. And I think we do all need that Vava Zoom into all of our calls, because I mean, it's a perfect example as well, as you said, the increase in numbers, particularly due to the because of the pandemic. I wouldn't be able to connect with amazing women like Dr. Navana here, and you know, it's this is a global network, and majority of the speakers are in the Middle East, Europe, you know, all over the world. And this wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for this. So as much as I love meeting and seeing and being with people in person, this is our next best thing, that we can communicate in that way. So if we are communicating, let's communicate in the best possible way we can and give that best impression over video calling.
Yeah.
So
as we say, communication isn't one thing, it's everything.
Very good. Absolutely. Heidi, thank you so much. We will come back to you afterwards, but let's carry on with our speakers. But a very good insight into reputation management. Thank you. So now I'd love to welcome Dr. Navana Kundu. She's an international best-selling and award-winning author and a TED speaker and coach. So the first thing, though, I'd love to, as I introduce you, is to tell us all about your emotional mastery.
Thank you, Sandy, for inviting me to this wonderful platform. Yes, we are humans, and it is just human to be having emotions. We all have so many emotions throughout the day, whether we are aware of them or not. Happiness, sadness, connection, isolation, motivation, depression, love, hatred. So many of them we go throughout the day. Now, we have all heard about emotional intelligence, right? But we haven't heard so much about emotional mastery. Now, I'll tell you the difference. When we talk about emotional intelligence, it is about understanding and the ability to manage your own emotions and the emotions of people around you. Now, emotional mastery goes a little bit deeper, because emotional mastery is about understanding the underlying hidden message between your emotions, and to use those emotions to empower every area of your life that matters, whether it is relationship, finance, career, health, name it. Now, what do I mean when I say understand the underlying hidden message of your emotions? I'll give you a very simple example. Let's talk about the emotion of fear. Anytime we feel fearful and we get consumed by this emotion of fear. Now, fear comes from the source word feras. Feras means threat. So whenever we are feeling the emotion of fear, fear is like a guest, a visitor who has come to your life for a few moments, a few minutes, a few hours to explain to you that, hey, there is a situation, something or someone that is being a threat to one of your basic 5 human needs. A threat to your survival, a threat to your love and connection, a threat to your validation, reputation, acknowledgement, or a threat to your growth. So each emotion, the moment we feel an emotion, we are aware of it, we witness the emotion, we welcome the emotion. Just like a visitor in our house, who has a gift for us and asks the emotion, hello, Mr. Anger, hello, Mr. Fear, what is the gift of message you have for me? Because the emotions are always telling you, it's giving you a measurement of where you are at your life, whether you have gone on track or you have gone off track. And once you understand the hidden message of the emotion, you learn, in some simple ways how to shift those emotions in a matter of, 2 minutes, whether you are at home, at your workplace, and use the same emotions to empower yourself, to utilize them. Because there is a myth that, positive emotions, negative emotions, but the fact is there is no emotion that is positive or negative. Emotions means energy in motion, and energy is neutral. How you perceive it, it can be positively or negatively. So that's what emotional mastery is all about.
Sorry. I think everybody needs to have training in that way if they do not deal with their emotions. As you said, you've got the positive, you've got the negative emotions, but they're all emotions. And it's the way we act about them, how we're going to react to somebody or a situation, which is the key thing. You've got people.
Sandy, I want to mention one more thing about you, because there is a big thing that is going on. It's all about mind power, right?
Yes.
People say mind over matter. I say emotions over mind. How many times it happens even before you can pinpoint a reason, the way you are feeling, you're already feeling down. You're already feeling depressed and you have no clue what is going on. And here I want to, mention there was a wonderful experiment that was done by a famous neuroscientist, Antonio Damasio. And what he did, he experimented on these participants, volunteers, whose emotional center of the brain was not functioning properly. And surprisingly, these participants, they could not even take a simple decision whether to choose chicken or fish for dinner. So the basis of reasoning is also based on your emotions. For those especially who say, I make my decisions based on my brain and not my heart. Do not listen to your heart. Do not get emotional when you take important decisions.
I am a very emotional person, as in I laugh, I cry, all the emotions come out, but I think it's a great way to express yourself, as long as, fortunately, I don't have a bad temper or I'm very rarely angry. I probably just cry. But thank you. No, that's very interesting to hear that.
If you are more of a crying person, it shows that you are more highly dominant with the water element of your
yes.
Because we also do, we make a lot of, there are different elements that we are all made up of, our personalities, our characters. We can be water element, fire element, wood element, or metal element. So those of us who are the crybabies, we are definitely a water element.
There's definitely a lot of water in me, for sure. So you have a wealth of incredible, diverse experience. As another one is you are a partner at AIWA, and your mantra is don't just go through your life, but grow through your life. So how do you empower, create, and inspire success?
Well, first of all, we all have different definitions of success in different stages of our life. And what I always tell my students and my clients who I work with is success is not about hitting a target, which we have been conditioned by our society since, we are growing up, that hitting, grade A's throughout your school and throughout college and university is a guaranteed success. But how many of the stoppers in real life are a guaranteed success in their professional and personal life? So here we need to redefine what success truly is. Success is not about buying that latest phone out in the market, but it is about who you are talking to and what kind of conversation you are having on that phone. It is not about buying the latest model of the most expensive car brand that is available in the market, but it's about who you are going to, what is the destination of your journey, and how is your journey for you. So success has to do a lot about, about your fulfillment in life. And here I want to say that, it has been seen in research that 80% of your success in professional life is based on your emotions. It is 20% which is based on your intellectual and your technical skills. Now, here I want to mention a couple of, those who love statistics, a couple of experiments that were made and statistical data. So Center of Creative Studies in USA, they did a research where they found out people with higher emotional fitness, they experienced greater fulfillment and success than people with higher, intellectual fitness. Career builders, they did research as well where they found out like 71% of employees, they value EQ over IQ. Because people with a higher EQ, they know how to keep calm under pressure, how to effectively deal with conflict in the organization, and how to connect to their co-workers with empathy and build trust. Now, there was also another research by Talent Smart. They did, they did a research over 7 different industry verticals, and they found out that 90% of the high performers who sets apart is due to their emotional intelligence rather than their IQ. So this gives us like ample evidence why emotions are so important for your success. So if you want to not just achieve success, but sustain that success over a long period of time, you need to look at the emotional fitness, the emotional quotient that you are holding in your life right now.
Sorry, thank you. And I think that's very key. Your emotions will come out within you, whatever you're going for. People can identify and relate to it. So you may be super high, a very high IQ, but then with no personality or emotions.
Yes, because emotions is energy in motion. It happens to all of us. We walk into a room, we see a person, as Heidi said, within the first few seconds, right? You know whether you like that person or you don't like that person. You already form an opinion about that person because energy travels faster than words. Even if you are great in, putting up a mask on your face of who you are actually not feeling, the energy will flow through and people will perceive it. Because between you and me, it's not just empty space. There is energy that is, going back and forth. We are giving out energy, we are receiving energy, and emotion is energy in motion. So you cannot avoid it, deny it, suppress it, repress it. It is not possible.
And also, it doesn't just relate professionally. So if you're in the corporate world, in professional world, in your everyday life, if you're on a date with somebody, it's the same. You're making that first impression, whether it's you're going for a job interview, you're going to do a big business deal, or you're just meeting somebody for the first time. So absolutely, it's key. And I think it's something, it's within each of us how we are, our personalities. but there is ways you can change that if you're aware of it, if you're very conscious of it. So there are some people who have a very negative outlook on life, and they may meet you and they're putting on this, oh yeah, I'm really fun, I'm a really positive person, but people, you can see it, you feel it, as you said, the energy travels a lot faster. And you know.
Yeah, they can say the best words, they can mug up the best words, but you feel that something is off, something doesn't feel right.
Yes. Fortunately, we have great energy today with these wonderful speakers, Yui. And Dr. Navana, so your clients range from individual founders, corporates, to national governments, but also expanding your work passionately with small business owners and students. So what advice can you give to control your leadership reputation?
We must remember that we are living in a people's culture. People are a valuable asset, and they are more important than the car we own or the house we buy. So if you want to be successful as a people's leader, you have to understand the emotions your people are feeling, and you have to know how to use your own emotions to build that pillar of connection, credibility, and trust. Now, I will cite from my book, this emotional mastery book that I've written. In page 28, I have given an example of a Harvard Business Review article. And this was done by the George Mason University. And they reported a research study in 7 different industries, including financial services and the real estate. And the results showed that people who worked in a culture that encouraged freedom to express affection, caring, and compassion reported more fulfillment with their jobs, commitment to the organization, commitment to their leader, and follow the leadership. So if you want to be an excellent, extraordinary leader, you have to understand the emotions of your people. And this is always, I say, that you don't understand emotions, you don't understand business. The entire advertising world is running on that. We buy what makes us feel good. We listen to someone, we follow someone who makes us feel good. It is even more important than the words that are being told, because a lot of time after years, people don't remember the exact words you have said, but people remember how that person made you feel.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's very key. I mean, making somebody feel from your own personality, from your own emotions, making that other person, again, whether it's professionally or on a personal level, it's going to give you that credibility, and it's going to be long lasting.
Yes, because when you are authentic with your emotion, it takes a brave heart, a lot of courage to express what you feel in a positive way. And when you are able to do that, it conveys an authenticity and a credibility and honesty to other person. And who doesn't want a credible and honest and authentic leader? Like Heidi was mentioning Barack Obama, a wonderful leader. What do you feel when you listen to him? You feel that strength, that courage, that optimism, that positivity, that hope, that yes, I can do it as well. That's what a leader infuses in your heart. And that's where emotions come in play.
Yes, I think Barack Obama is such an amazing example, because again, you just have that trust in him, the way he speaks. He's real, he's very authentic, and he was a great president. Rather, we're in the UK, so we've got the Prime Minister. Thank you so much. Very insightful, very interesting as well. And again, we will come back to you, Dr. Navana, but I really thank you. That's really interesting.
Thank you.
And finally, I'd like to welcome Deborah Dor, leadership and communications coach. So very welcome. And again, thank you for taking the time to join us today, Deborah. So
it's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure having you here. It really is. This is so interesting. So how can people have more control over their career progression as leaders?
Well, it's a really great question. And I think people can have more control over their career progression, much more than they believe. I think if you look at most situations, people are in a work environment and we all work extremely hard to do what we call our day job. But we rarely give a moment's thought about what are the things that we can do to start developing the responsibilities in the workplace. For example, how can I start to do things that demonstrate to people that I'm actually a leader and worthy of promotion? I'll give you an example in a moment, but I'm giving you this on the basis that I have a career that spans more than 30 years in business. 15 of those years were spent as a recruiter, predominantly in the financial markets. And I saw a lot of things going on in that time where people came to me and said, I've been overlooked for promotions so many times. What can I do that's different? And as a coach today, I have clients that have said to me, for example, can you work with my company? We're a law firm. We have people working as associate solicitors. They complain all the time about workload. And I don't think any of our associates are ready for promotion. But we need to do something more proactively about helping and supporting the people that work in our company so that they can be future partners in this business. So in working with some of those associate lawyers, what I found is that I needed to really focus on their mindset. It was really about the awareness they had about how they could look at the competencies perhaps that they didn't have as leaders. Where were the skills gaps? And what could they do to help themselves to develop the skills that they really needed to display and demonstrate during their working day, that they had what it would take to be promoted to become a future partner? So in working with those associate lawyers, I started off with awareness around what they do as their day job, and also awareness around what are the leadership competencies that they see around them that they really value, that really inspire them to develop as lawyers, and what can they do themselves to demonstrate to the very people that are holding their career in their hands to show that they are worthy and ready for promotion. So in working with those associates on their mindset, it was then about saying, what are the behaviors that they need to display that demonstrate to the very people they're working with, their peer group and the leaders, the people that are holding their careers in their hand, what can they do to demonstrate that they're worthy for that additional responsibility and promotion? And working on a plan with those individuals, they were able to literally take steps to show up differently with the people that they worked alongside and the people that they worked for to demonstrate that they were worthy of promotion. And in demonstrating that, they were able therefore to take control of a review conversation involving what the next career step might look like. And by the time they were promoted, they were already demonstrating that they were taking on leadership or partnership responsibilities, which included things like winning business, making sure clients asked for them as the first point of contact, and really taking a much more proactive approach in the workplace. So the one thing I would recommend to women in particular, and men for that matter who might be listening, is that don't wait for things to happen. Be proactive and look at all the things you can do to take responsibility for advancing your own career. And if you sense there are skills gaps, or you perhaps feel you lack the confidence or courage to take action, speak to somebody, a friend, a professional in the industry that can help you do the things to support that progress. Because at the end of the day, life is too short. And if you wait for something to happen, it's going to take far longer than if you proactively do something to help yourself and the others around you. So I would simply end that question by saying I would ask yourself one question: how can you take more control over your career progression as a leader? And if you don't have all the tools and the answers available, speak to people, seek out the professionals that can help you find those answers, and don't wait. Take action today.
Very good. Be proactive. I think that's very key here. It's so easy to sit back and feel sorry for ourselves a little bit and not take action. So I think being proactive, getting yourself out there, speaking to people is definitely the way to get yourself ahead. But do you think women are being hired because they're women rather than based on merit?
I think that's a question we can all ask ourselves. My personal answer to this question is, I think it sometimes happens. I think if I look back in the last 30 years, I'm pleased to say it happens less and less, or I'm certainly aware of it happening less and less these days. I think people are far more aware of the harm it can cause to hire somebody just to fill a quota. And I think if I ask people who have tuned in today that, have you ever been in the situation where someone made you feel as though you were simply filling a quota? It might have happened. But I think, as I said, increasingly it's happening less and less. And I think it's all to do with awareness around the people who are interviewing. I think they have a huge responsibility to address diversity quotas. And I think when most companies look at addressing diversity quotas, of course, they want to hire as many people as they possibly can, not just women, but all people of different religions, people of different sexual orientations. We live in a very complex world, and it's about having an understanding of hiring the most diverse range of people who can obviously do their day job, but so that you have a very rich blend of a combination of the best minds to address some of the most complex issues that we deal with in the markets today. And I think it's awareness around the interviewee's ability to convey that message on behalf of the companies. And again, I think people need to take a very close look at the skills they have to develop their interview capability so that women and people of different genders and sexual orientations do not feel that they're being hired because of what they bring to the table, other than their experience, their knowledge to solve problems, and their ability to help the company get from where it is today to where it needs to be tomorrow. I think it's a very complex question to answer succinctly. I think that when women are sitting in a seat and feel they're being hired because they're women, put it down to the fact that the interviewer doesn't have the experience to overcome that feeling. Once you're in the business, in that environment, you have an opportunity to influence that person later by sharing your experience when you're working with them as a colleague, and perhaps, encourage other people to look at where they're confident in interviews and where they need help, so that it might be true that they're looking to address diversity quotas, but it certainly doesn't come across in that way. So I would encourage anyone that's listening today to say, if you've ever had the experience of being hired because you're a woman or because of what you hire other than the experience that you bring, put it down to the lack of experience rather than the quality of the company that you're joining, and go in to feel that you can make a difference by addressing that later. It's all around awareness. And ask yourself, if you interview people and find yourself guilty of asking questions or making statements that really confirm that you're looking to fill quotas, ask yourself, what are the skills I need to really build, develop, or acquire? And who do I need to speak to make sure I don't come across in that way again, or I come across as somebody who more fairly reflects where the company is coming from, because that's who you're representing.
Excellent. I think as you said, it's a very complex question. There's been a lot of change over the years, and we can all see the change in having more female CEOs. and leaders in the industries, and particularly with Women Warriors Network. You know, I'm constantly, daily connecting with incredible women who are entrepreneurs, CEOs. They've set up incredible businesses, or, you know, they're just great leaders in whatever industry it may be in. And the last 10 years or so, I've been working in the Middle East, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and the last couple of years in Saudi Arabia. And the changes I've seen have been incredible and very positive to see so many, you know, there's still a bit of a way to go, but there's so many incredible female empowerment there that it's just very inspiring. Sorry, and your last question, Deborah. So what can women and men do in the workplace to help advocate each other?
Well, again, this is about inclusivity and really raising awareness. Again, awareness is such a big thing. It is everything. It's about making sure people are aware of what they can do to help each other advocate this sort of change they want to bring about in the company and also with each other, so that they have an inclusive mindset. And it's all about focusing on the positivity here. And the mindset of being somebody who is a champion to bring not only women, but a very diverse range of people on board to handle some of the complex issues. I think, you know, if I look back in my career, this is one of the reasons why I became a leadership, communication and business coach. It was an opportunity really for me to take my experience over the last 30 years and as a coach over the last 10 plus years to really say, I understand the issues. I understand they're complex, and I understand the individual circumstance and insecurities, if you will, of the clients that I work with, who are really, they take the courage to basically say, look, I don't know how to deal with this situation. How can I deal with it positively? Or I've never been in this situation before. What do I need to do to help others? So, you know, I can give you specific examples, but I always encourage the clients that I work with to look at the awareness around their own ability to improve as a leader in addressing the very point of noticing things that can be done better around them. And it's often saying, for example, have a private word with somebody and say, I saw how you handled that. Well, it took a lot of courage. Can I suggest in addition to that, you try this as well? So, for example, you're not saying, well, you could have done that better. But what you are saying with a lot of support, and it's the support that's so important, here are ways in which you can deal with it that might yield a better result or better response. I also think, taking the experience that I've had, particularly as a leadership coach, that it's the awareness of not just your own capability and your ability to say, here are the skills I need to build to develop my career and become better at what I do. But it's the ability to notice others and this energy thing that we've touched upon in the earlier conversations. Notice when people need support around you. It is vitally important to have that empathy, that intelligence, if you will, the emotional intelligence. It's so important. It's the buzzword around the office. We hear it all the time. But it's not just your own awareness, it's awareness of others and your ability to be supportive in those environments, because that's a leadership competency. So when I sit down with leaders and talk about the sort of leadership competencies that they value, that they've experienced and they've seen around them, I often then turn the question around and say, what are the leadership competencies you believe you have as a woman, as somebody, Jewish in this environment, as somebody who comes with their ethnicity to this environment? What are the things that you bring as a leader, and what can you do to help this company build in the area of diversity and inclusion? And that's where we really identify where the skills shortages are. And when we work on addressing some of these skills gaps, it's often very valuable, because through coaching, people understand how they can then coach others. And I would say the answer to what men and women can do in the workplace to help advocate each other is having that awareness about how they can help and support others around them. And I would break it down into very simple things. Plan. Where does the company want to go to address their inclusivity and diversity quotas? What are the KPIs that we can work together on to make sure that we fill those quotas? What are the other things we can do to support each other? And if that support isn't available internally, what can we do about finding external support? People who come with that knowledge, that know-how, that experience to help us build in the areas where we personally feel weak. And so the answer to that question is simple. Social media, LinkedIn, all the platforms, speaking to friends, you can find out who to speak to. But it's about the value you bring and the value that you bring in yourself to those work environments. And I would say there's a strap line that I like using all the time. Start changing tomorrow, today. It's about doing something about things right now. Gandhi, we all know Gandhi. He said, start bringing the change you want to see in this world. And it's about doing all the things you possibly can and learning the things you need to learn to do things differently as you progress with your career to address all the complex issues we face in the world today. So I hope I've answered the question. It is about helping yourself and others to be the best version that they possibly can be so that we can all fulfill our potential.
Excellent, Deborah. Excellent. Again, it's for anybody who is listening out there. I hope you're taking on board the advice these wonderful inspirational speakers are giving, because I think it's very useful. I mean, even for me personally, myself, there's so many tips and hints here that I need to remind myself of what I should be doing on a daily basis. So thank you so much. Ladies, I want to thank you all so much. I've just opened up, unmuted all of you just for the final, for us to conclude this session today. But is there anything any of you want to ask each other while you are here, or anything any of you have discussed today?
Yeah, I'll go, Sandy. I've got a question for Dr. Navana, because I find it fascinating. I think how you've taken sort of it's such an original approach to what is deemed, as Deborah mentioned, emotional intelligence. And there is something I believe, you've got the emotional side of the brain and the rational side of the brain, and it's finding this sweet spot in the middle, which is the wise mind. From your experience, do you think organizations are recognizing this more and more about people, their employees, or do you think that there's still a long way to go? Have we lost? I'm not sure if he's there, Sandy.
Dr. Navana, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Here.
Did you hear the
screen? The screen froze for a while. You're back.
Yeah. Did you hear the full question?
Heidi, I got your question. Yes, I do find the organizations are getting more and more aware, because they understand that, in the coming time, emotions are going to play such a significant role in our lives. And we witnessed that during the pandemic, during the COVID. And today, the way the world is going, there is too much of, there is a rapid changes that are happening, and nobody's prepared for it. Remember when we were children, we used to look up to our adults with the question, what next? But now, if we, today's kids, if we ask, they ask the adults, us, what's next? We ourselves don't know what's next. What's going to be there, 6 months down the line from now, if there is going to be another pandemic, another financial crash, we don't know. So yes, there is so much of stress, anxiety, worries about the future, what is going to happen, so much of insecurities, isolation, lack of inspiration that is happening, that organizations are feeling the effect of it on performance. And that is why they do not have a way out but to look at emotional intelligence. And I'm finding a lot of the queries also coming from the young generation, who are going to be tomorrow's leaders, the next CEOs, from the age around in the 20s, I would say from the early 20s till 35. They're the ones who are most interested, and they're so aware of their mental health, the topics of emotional intelligence. They have so many questions, and for them, it's not a shameful topic. Before, it used to be a shameful topic to talk about emotions and mental health, that, oh, I have an anger issue, or I have an issue with, depression. Nobody wanted to come forward and talk openly about it. But today's generation from 20 till 35, they see it, they perceive it in a completely different way. And they are going to be the next in the management level. So there is going to be a very big change that is going to come up. And there was one report I got from 2021 McKinsey, and they said by the year 2030, organization, they will be hiring on the basis of emotional intelligence rather on intellectual intelligence.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, if they're not aware now, then they need to get with the program, basically.
Yes, because there is too much of uncertainty. We all want to feel safe. That's our basic human need. And that safety, that protection is not there anymore, whether it's professional life or personal life. So people have to look into it.
I think as well, not having, as you said, there used to be the shame of, oh, I'm depressed, I've got a mental illness or something. It's so open and widely spoken now that, as you said, with the next generation, with this generation, they speak very openly on social media, all of these platforms. So it's all there for us to see and to hear, and take that shame away from it. And it's not shameful. It's just something you may be going through. And the more people can talk about it amongst other people and grow, which is what generations are doing now, the better the world will be. And give people that credibility. Just because they've had maybe a bit of an episode of something happening within their lives, it shouldn't then mark them forever. It should be, well, okay, that's fine. And I think, as Deborah said, with the diversity in companies now, they do have a tick box, in interviewers, what they have to, be looking for. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter your color, your race, your creed, your religion, whatever it may be. If you've got those talents, those skills, you're the person for the job. And people are seeing beyond that. We're all equal. Equality, diversity is what we're all building towards, and what the world is. There is the uncertainty, but the certainty, what we do have, is that the world's became more open and inclusive, which is a great thing. Thank God. Thank goodness we've got this. It's the way we can just all move forward and create good things with other people and in companies and as individuals.
And Sandy, if I can add, I think we have to remind ourselves it takes a lot of courage to admit certain things when you're in a workplace environment where years ago you couldn't say those things. So I think you need to focus on the courage it takes. And also, I think in the world that we live in, it's really important to be flexible so we can learn how to adapt. I often say to the people that I coach, it's really important that our aim in this intervention is so that you can thrive in ambiguity. This isn't about survival. It's about how you thrive with a very fast-paced moving environment that you can excel in. But you need to go home every day feeling fulfilled. If you go home feeling fulfilled every day, you're successful.
I want to mention that I have one client. He is a board member of a multinational organization, and he has this wonderful setup in his office that whenever there is an important presentation or a board meeting, the first thing he asks everybody, how are you feeling today? And everyone is given 3 colored cards, green, yellow, and red. Green, Whoever pulls it up, it means excellent, over the top. Yellow, not so. And red is a red flag, like I'm really not feeling good today, something happened. And that person is taken separate to have a counseling, that maybe something happened on the way to his work, something has happened at home. And it is such a wonderful way of building that empathy and connection with each other, and nobody is judged.
I think excellent. I hope everybody had a green card today then, Dr. Navana. And on that note, I want to thank each and every one of you today as amazing speakers, and the insights you gave us. I think we've all learnt a lot today. If anybody wants to contact any of the speakers, I will be putting all of their contact information up with the recording, which will go out to everybody. But again, please continue to support Women Warriors Network and these incredible inspirational speakers, which is what makes it an exceptional global network. Thank you all today, and please stay in touch. And again, contact details will be with the recording. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.